Welcome to another episode of Galaxy Marine's True Bass. Today we're on Clear Lake, fishing topwater.
Hi, I'm Chad Martin, and I'm up here at Clear Lake today fishing with Big Jim Davis, and we're going to go out here and see if we can catch some topwater fish and hopefully get some big bites today, but I think the action's going to be pretty good. It's July, and the weather's been pretty good up here, and it hasn't been too hot, and I got a little overcast this morning, a little marine layer, so it should be pretty good. What do you think?
No, I agree. Yesterday we went out and played around a little bit. Fish starting to school up a little bit, so if we can get out a couple decent-sized schools of fish, we can probably catch a lot of them and have a lot of fun.
Cool, let's go do it.
Let's do it. The water comes out to about 6 feet and then falls off to a good break. And early in the morning, these fish are moving up onto these flats and feeding, chasing both fry and shad. So we're going to be throwing some topwater baits, poppers, and little spooks and things like that. Try to get some activity. I've been fishing this lake, and I think Chad will probably attest to this too. We've both been fishing here for so long that you kind of learn areas where there's flats that have sparse weeds. Right now the weeds, because the water's so clear, the fish are hanging around the weeds. So if you can find flats like this where they can move up and still have some protection in the grass, those fish are around there, especially early before the sun gets on them real good. Luckily because of well, it's pretty clear today, but it's been kind of hazy. So the topwater bite's been going pretty decent for, the first 3-4 hours of the morning.
And most of these popper baits like we're throwing this morning, I'm throwing a Rico, and what are you throwing?
I'm throwing a River to Sea this morning, bubble pop.
They come up, and these baits look like they're an injured shad on top of the water, and they just kind of spit and spurt a little bit, and tell you what, when you get the strike, you get a really violent strike a lot of times. And fish around these docks too, most people think they associate pitching and flipping with the Delta or up in the Tules being real shallow. But when you're throwing these baits around these docks, especially when you're fishing with two people, it's important that you know how to flip and you know how to pitch, because a lot of times you get to pitch these bait places you can't cast when you're sitting double on the front of the boat like this. It's kind of hard, so it's kind of important to go out and practice with everything, not just your plastics for the Delta or for Clear Lake. And another thing, when you're throwing these topwater baits too, especially up here on this open water where you don't have a lot of docks and a lot of wood to deal with, I like throwing a rod that's got a pretty limber tip to it. So when that fish takes that bait on the top, it loads the rod up, and then you're not pulling the bait out of the fish's mouth. You're not ripping a big hole in the fish's mouth. You kind of let them take it down and set, almost like a crankbait rod for topwater.
Yep.
And I got several rods I like to use. I like to use my 765 or 764. It's actually a flipping stick, but it's got a limber enough tip on these long casts that when you hit these fish, you got a lot of muscle to pull them out, but you got a good tip to give the fish the play it needs. And I think that's crucial. And then up here too with line, I usually go with 12 to 15 pound test on my topwater. About you?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. One of the things that I think people make a big mistake on in topwater is they want to throw fluorocarbon. The worst thing you can do with a topwater bait is throw fluorocarbon, because the line wants to sink and the bait won't act like it should. So you want to use either a light braid, is what I typically use. I'll use a 20-pound braid a lot because the braid will sit on the water, or I'll use 12 to 15-pound mono. I think most people associate topwater baits with shallow. It's not necessarily the case.
A lot of times this time of year, especially in the summer, it gets hot like this. These fish, they're garden fry. These fry, they spawn. The fry are kind of milling in around these docks, and a lot of people think that it's bait, that it's shad that's around these docks right out here, but most of the time it's the fry that they're chasing.
Yep.
And so you got a topwater bait that imitates a fry or something that's got loose by itself running someplace, or maybe a bluegill or crappie running through these things, the bass would draw right to it too.
Another thing that's kind of important too when you're fishing like this is you really need to make long casts, because the water's so clear right now. These fish see you, and a lot of times it won't trigger a strike, whereas if they see a bait hit the water and they don't know anything's going on, you get a few more bites that way.
Oh, pull it out right there. Perfect example. That fish just waited a little bit too long to come up and try to eat it. So far this morning we had a few blow-ups that have come up and missed. So I'm going to go to a fluke. This is a baby bass fluke. Just kind of a little subsurface. It goes down, it darts side to side, looks like it's injured. But it's a soft plastic, so it goes under the surface a little bit, so they might come up and react to it through this grass here. Caught a bunch of fish up here yesterday on it, and easy bait to work. You just cast it out, let it go down a little bit, and then kind of twitch it side to side, and it's got a real erratic left to right motion if you work it just right. And it's simple. You just Texas rig it, 5/0 hook, and you're good to go. Oh, come on. Oh, here we go.
There you go. That little guy.
Yep. Sitting there laid up next to that pole right there. Sit there and watch him come up and eat it. Clear Lake monster bass right there.
There you go.
See? That's a big fish. You got a fish call? I want to hear it.
Fishy, 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 fishy. Fishy, fishy, fishy.
We can market that.
It'll work. See, that's all you gotta do. You gotta just call them in.
Where's the scissors at? I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut the line.
That's all you gotta do. Just call them a little bit. These fish have been really aerobatic or acrobatic.
That's a nice one.
A little bit better.
I think mine was bigger.
Even then, that fish didn't even blow up on it. He just sucked it off the surface.
That's important. Those fish are just sucking it like that off the surface. You're not really getting a big explosion. Having a good rod.
That's a bigger Clear Lake bass than Chad caught first.
You see right here on this dock, I don't know if you can really see it or not in this water, but there's a big, huge school of fry right here in this dock. And I think as these fish move around, that's what those big bass are protecting right there. They're protecting the fry. A perfect example, there's just a huge cloud, probably about 4 or 5 feet in diameter right there. I think Jim just caught the one that was protecting them, huh?
No, that was way shallow.
It's funny because when you bring a bait to them, well, they just move and they try to get out of the way.
You know, it's a lot clearer today. I'll tell you what, that little haze blew out of here last night. You know, we had that breeze last night?
Mm-hmm.
I really think it blew a lot of that haze out. There you go.
Perfect. Oh, he hooked all in his face. Look at that. You know he's getting a hold of it. Oh, look at that.
Dang it, there was
Jim
our double.
he's trying to show up on me here. Double up on us.
We just had it. I missed
Oh,
him.
there you go.
He just missed it.
That's quick release right there.
Maybe they're going to start eating for us finally.
You gonna take me where there's some fish?
I'm going to try to take you where there's some fish. You just better hope that if these don't go and go to your fish, that they go.
You pay for a guide trip, that's what you get.
He don't want to say anything about the tournament we fished 2 weekends ago.
What tournament?
And we ran all the way across the lake to his fish, and there was no fish to be caught.
We caught fish all day long. Caught catfish like this. We're changing our sport. We're going to catfish instead of bass fishing.
The difference between this area and the area we were just at is this has got a little more grass. It's got a little steeper break, so it has a smaller pocket that the fish might be sitting in. But what I'm thinking is these fish might have moved off the flats, and hopefully they're sitting around these deeper breaks with the weeds around them. I think when you're throwing topwater, you don't want to have too much of a ripple because it'll prevent them from seeing the bait. I think my personal opinion is like this little tiny bit of ripple like we have is ideal situation for throwing a popwire. And definitely shade. I mean, shade is key because when it gets hot like this, these fish are going to move into shaded pockets for both safety so they can hide themselves and for it's cooler. Because this water, you know, water temp's getting up in the 77, 78 degrees now. So they're moving into areas to stay cool as the sun comes up.
You know, that thing with topwater baits, a lot of times, most people catch the most fish when they never see the blow up occur, you know, because they don't react to it and set the hook and pull it away from the fish. There's so many times when you see that blow up and that reaction just happens so fast and your first instinct is to pull, bait comes flying back over your head and you just missed your fish. I'm gonna switch to a frog. Somebody keep on the surface a little bit more. You know, these snag-proof frogs, we take these things and you know, sometimes they come with a big round hook inside. And we put this Gamakatsu frog hook in there that's made just for these frogs. And then we trim the skirts out just a little bit so they're a little thinner. And what happens, it makes the frog walk side to side real tight like a spook. And you can actually keep it in place a lot longer. Yeah. a lot of times they don't want that bait moving too far away from them. So if you can get it out and really work your rod tip kind of slow, take the slack line up, but don't pull it a long ways. And a lot of times it really teases them.
Once again, the fish didn't really go the way we wanted to this morning, so I was in here yesterday. This little stretch right here, I've caught a lot of fish on, so we're going to go through with pop wire. We don't really have the weeds here, but once we get up around this corner, there's a flat in the back of the bay, and that flat's loaded with grass right now. So what we're going to do is throw pop wires until we get to the flat, and then we'll probably throw frogs. And what I'm hoping is, because our cover's kind of blown off a little bit, that those fish have positioned themselves back underneath the cover, so we get that frog up there and hopefully get some fish to come through it.
Like this. Here we go.
There we got him.
Well, he just slurped that thing
Yes,
off.
he did too, didn't he?
You gotta love it. Little guy. Grass fish. See that frog? Pretty good. Come back here.
Dude, I'm telling you, that one that I caught in here yesterday devoured it.
These fish are feisty. You can see how those hooks, these Gamakatsu hooks, that frog hook has that nice bite. I mean, he had him by both hooks in that mouth.
I'm going to have to switch up to the white frog.
The edge of those toolies.
They're eating it a little better.
Ooh, they are so feisty. Look at, he had that frog all up in his mouth. Look at that. See, when they want it, they get it. Pop it out. There we go. 1 pounder.
There
Oh,
he
he's a
is.
big one. Oh, get the net. Oh,
See?
oh, there's no one there with it right there. Look at that.
That might have been the one that blew up on the frog.
Oh, look at it. Look at that.
Oh, he's trying to eat
Did you
his
see that?
spit. Two of them come out of the water.
Had
See
two
that?
fish on it.
Look it.
He actually ate the fluke.
The other
Watch
one's
it.
grabbed the fluke
Watch
because
it.
it's up the line.
Watch it.
Oh, he's still right there.
Oh, he got it.
Here, hold on.
He got it.
Hold on.
That is too funny. He grabbed the fluke hanging on my line.
Pull him up on my thing.
Here he comes again. Look at him. That is that other bass is actually eating the fluke.
That's too funny.
It's up on the line right
He's
now.
still on it. He's still right around it.
That's hilarious. If I had two hooks,
That's
we'd
classic.
have been in business.
Because he was on. If you would have had another hook, you would have caught him.
Yeah, he ate the fluke hanging up here. See, I just bring Jim along with me to find them so I can catch them.
Man, I'm never going to hear the end of this. One of the things that I've done in the past, and this one's kind of beat up because it's got a lot of fish, but if you change the color of the feather every now and then, it'll make a difference. I mean, I typically use white 90% of the time, I would say. So sometimes changing the feather colors on your back hook can make a big difference.
What we've done is come over into the horseshoe area of Clear Lake and just working the edge of this grass. And if you work the bait away from the grass, I just had a blow up right there. Pretty good fish. And these fish just like either suspend or just move up and down this weed line feeding. And usually frogs and spooks, all your topwater stuff works pretty good over here. So hopefully we'll see if we can get a big one to go here.
Oh, he's not that good. I thought he was a lot better when he come up.
Now whose fish are panning out?
I have one fish.
Let me lip him. Let me hit the net. Let me find the net. That's a big old fish.
Oh, that's a self-coer right there. God, I thought that was a big fish. You see that fish come up?
Yeah.
It went sideways. I thought it was a toad.
He ate hard.
That's a Clear Lake frogfish.
That's actually that's a 4-pound fish in his hand. Look how
That's
little
it.
it
It
is.
just looks smaller. You know, topwaters. Patience is probably one of them. I don't know. We dressed it a little bit, but biggest mistake I think you can make is you know, equipment's key, and being too quick is key. So you want to make sure that you're not too quick on the fish. You give them a chance to eat it. You know, a good rule of thumb or a good thing that you can practice on, which is really hard to do, but if you go out and you're throwing a frog or throwing a topwater bait, just let them blow up on and eat it, and don't set, and watch how long they'll swim around with it before they spit it out.
You know, we talk so much about the rods that we're using all the time, but when we're throwing these little light baits like these little topwater Ricos and whatnot, you know, the reels, how smooth these reels are now, You know, you use Quantum and I use Shimano, and it makes a big difference. You buy a reel that's not real high quality reel, you're not gonna make that real long, smooth cast and get the bait where you need to get it. And then once you get them hooked, if you don't have a good drag system, you know, you're gonna lose those fish or you're gonna break off. You need that drag to be nice and smooth as it comes out.
Without a doubt. You know what? This is a this big flat bay back in here. There's a lot of different weed pockets and weed clumps, and these fish can move in and out of all the weeds and pull around. So what we're trying to do is yesterday Chad found some fish way out here off in these flats that are out here, these weed pockets out here, and we're hoping that they're sitting down in them. We get around them, we start pushing some baits around them. Chad's throwing a swim bait right now, throwing a little bass tricks, and I went back to the pop bar just to see, you know, hope that they'll come up, see what they want to eat in here.
Little fluke fish.
Damn, fish.
Yeah. Fishy, there we go. Well, we moved up a little bit shallower, get these little sparse pockets up in this grass, and couldn't get bit out there for some reason. So we come up here a little bit closer, and I think these fish got a little more cover and maybe feeding these holes. So pick the fluke up, toss it out in the hole, and voila.
No, I should let Chad talk about why we use this hook. Why do we use this hook, Chad?
Actually, we started using that hook a couple years ago because they got this real strong hook. But what happens with most of the hooks, they don't have a real wide, real big gap in them. And with the big wide gap hooks, if you look at them, you have the eye here, and the point goes almost right into the eye, and they're too much lined up. So when the fish grabs hold of it, if he doesn't mash it completely down, you know, you don't catch a lot of fish, you lose a lot of them. With this round bend, as you notice where the hook point is, from where the eye tie is,
Where the eye goes
there's
in.
a lot of meat right there.
So even though it's not an EWG per se, the actual amount of hook that you have to grab on is greater. So it's just higher than where the bait is. So the hookup percentage is actually better.
Today's bass boats are all about performance. They have big motors, big boats. They're made to run big lakes, big water, and they're really pretty economical. One of the things that make that boat perform the best are propellers. And there are so many different propellers out from Mercury that you can put on your boat. The aluminum prop that you see a lot of anglers, water skiers, pleasure boaters running, really not the propeller you want for your bass boat. Most all of us on our bass boats are running stainless steel propellers like the Mercury Tempest Plus. This is a prop you see a lot of us running on our boats. And one of the things that we're looking for in a propeller is hole shot, getting that boat up on plane real fast, top end performance, and mid-range performance. We want something that's going to carry that boat. These outboards are made to operate somewhere between 5,500 and 6,000 RPMs depending on the motor. So you don't want to have too big a propeller, which is going to cause your motor to lug down and not get the RPMs, and you don't want too small a propeller, which is going to cause you to spend way too many RPMs and possibly harm your motor. Hey, to find out what the best propeller for your bass boat is, or to get a new propeller for your bass boat, give Galaxy Marine a call. They'll get you all dialed in, get the right prop for your boat, and get your boat performing at its best.
Both me and Chad caught a lot of fish on with popper. This is a river to sea popper, but we were using Ricos, we were using Excaliburs. I think one of the key features is make sure you run a feather on the back of it, especially for these fish when it's sitting. That feather puts off, gives it a little more action while it's sitting. I'm throwing this one on 20-pound braid, so I get a little more response to it. Once again, this is a 7.4 medium action rod with a 6-to-1 reel. And then we threw a multitude of different frogs. We threw snag-proof frogs. We threw bass risky frogs from depths. And all of these, all the frogs were done on flip and stick type rods with 65-pound braid. And once again, 7-to-1 reel, so we get quick retrieval to get them out of the stuff.
Well, at Clear Lake today, we had a blast. We had a good time. You know, caught quite a few fish. Started off this morning throwing some topwater, and I was throwing the Rico, and this is just like a Magnum Rico, little feather on the back, and like a Tennessee-looking shad color. The splash and the real subtleness of this bait. It's got little rattles in it. Works really well. Team that up with a 734 power rod with 15-pound test line. It's just incredible at the action and the way you fight these fish. And then we went to a frog this morning also, in the same areas we were getting some of the topwater bites on with the Rico. We went to the snag-proof frog. It's just a white frog, a little red on the chin, a few little modifications to it, and throw it on a 60-pound braid. 735 pow flipping stick with a 6:2 to 1 gear ratio reel. And it really helps you get the fish out of the stuff once you get a hook into them. Then when it slowed down just a tiny bit this afternoon, the bites they didn't want to eat the top water real well, so they started kind of going to a little more subsurface. We went to the fluke, and I was throwing the fluke on braid also. This is 30-pound suffix braid on a 733 casting pow rod. And this fluke is such a subtle little bait. It's got a 5/0 hook. It's a baby bass color, and they just seem to really like this thing today. They come up and ate it pretty well. We missed several on it, but we had a blast trying to catch them. What do you think about today? We started off this morning. It's July. It's a beautiful day. And, the overcast kind of get out of here. Got a lot of sunshine, but we had a pretty good time. What do you think?
Oh, it was an absolute blast. Actually, for being in the middle of summer, it's really mild out here. It's not too hot. We had a nice little breeze. Would have appreciated some bigger fish, but we did have a lot of excitement, I'll tell you.
I think so. If you hear this from earlier, a little bit earlier in the show, I think he owes me a cheeseburger.
No, I think actually it was the first topwater fish that I caught and called with my bass call that counted for the $1.
Oh, you think the bass call was good?
That was
We're
it.
going to market that bass call. Boss on us thinks they got something on us.
But I did kind of chicken out because it got a little tough, and I didn't want to waste it. I had to keep the mojo going for the bass call for when I need it.
That's true. Well, we had a good time. We thank you guys for coming on and watching True Bass Show. I hope you guys see you on the water, and good fishing.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Galaxy Marine. It's a great show. We had a lot of fun.
We'll see you next time on Galaxy Marine's True Bass.